Good afternoon. Emergency officials are about to provide an update this hour on that deadly house fire in Brampton last week. Let's listen in.
On behalf of my entire office, I want to extend my deepest condolences to the family, loved ones, and community members affected by this tragic incident. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone impacted, and we recognize the profound grief this community is experiencing. I want to acknowledge the exceptional work of the 911 call takers and first responders who arrived on scene under very challenging conditions. I also want to recognize the Office of the Fire Marshal investigators and all partner agencies who have and continue to work tirelessly and respectfully through this difficult investigation. The impact felt by events such as these are a reminder that communities are devastated by the immense loss, but so too are the women and men who are now on site to help uncover the answers to what transpired. Due to the structural condition of the home, the investigation had required the use of heavy machinery to safely remove debris and allow our teams to access all areas of the structure. The Office of the Fire Marshal continues to conduct a very thorough, methodical investigation, and we cleared the scene last evening. I can confirm that smoke alarms were located in this home, but as part of our investigation, we will work to determine whether those alarms were in fact functioning at the time of the fire. As you can appreciate, following the on-site investigation, our focus shifts to testing samples and ensuring that we leave no stone unturned. As such, a timeline for the completion of this investigation cannot be provided. This event is a stark reminder of the devastation that fire can cause. To date, in Ontario, we have had a total of 92 fatal fires and the loss of 106 lives. Fire spreads fast, and that's why it's important that we remind all Ontarians about the steps they can take to remain fire safe. Based on statistics on previous years, we are coming up to one of the deadliest times of years, a time that should be spent celebrating the holidays with family and friends. But far too often, this time of year leads to tragedy. So I implore with each of you to test your smoke alarms today and practice your home fire escape plan. You only have a precious 60 seconds to escape a fire, and that time should be spent following your escape plan, not preparing it. A working smoke alarm is the only device that will give you the early warning you need to get out safely. And given the impact that fire can have, you need to have 2 ways out of every single room. We continue to work with Brampton to support the families impacted and to help prevent similar tragedies in the future. Again, on behalf of the Office of the Fire Marshal, I offer my deep condolences to those impacted by this tragedy. To the partners in fire, police, and emergency services, and our own investigation team, thank you for your continued efforts to help the community find answers.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon. I'll be here to provide you an investigative overview from the perspective of Peel Regional Police. We remain on scene and stand ready to support the Ontario Fire Marshal in whatever their investigation locates over the course of what will be several months of analysis with the debris here. At this point, I can confirm that there has been nothing overtly to indicate any type of criminality here. And so our transition as the police has been to victim and witness management. And I can report that of the 3 people that were unaccounted for, 2 have been located deceased, and 1 has been accounted for and is safe at the hospital with his family. I have the express permission from Mr. Singh to speak a little bit about that. I can confirm that 4 people lost their lives on scene here, and it's 3 adult females and a young toddler. Sadly, one of the patients at hospital of the 4 was pregnant. She underwent emergency surgery, delivered that baby, and that baby has since passed. And our condolences are with the family at this time. I understand that there will be a lot of questions as it pertains to the occupancy of the residence, how that residence was divided. That's not something that any of us here are prepared to speak to, as it will come out in the ongoing investigation. It is just not the priority right now. And I'll certainly take some questions here if you have any.
Okay, so Tyler, you said originally that there were 5 deceased, 3 that were missing. Now you brought that number down to 4, correct?
Right, so it was always 3 outstanding and unaccounted for, and we've located 2 deceased, and the 3rd person unaccounted for is safe. It's Mr. Singh, and he's at the hospital.
Constable, can you, if it's okay with you, sort of address how this impacts individual, an officer, even you, for instance, if it's okay with you, just maybe shed some light as to how impactful this type of practice can be?
Well, I have the benefit of standing here in a calm environment. I'm safe, and I'm not as exposed to all of the details as the investigative team are, as the Ontario Fire Marshal is, and the firefighters that were here making the heroic efforts that they did. It's very difficult. This hits close to home to many people, myself included. I've been involved in a pretty significant fire myself, and so generally speaking, we're all just very, very, very sad for the family, and we're doing our best to uncover answers in hopes that whatever we learn can help prevent something like this from happening.
Follow-up. 4 people are now confirmed deceased. Originally, you were saying 2. You found someone on Friday. Did you find somebody else over the weekend?
Right. So the entire time we've stated that it was 3 that was unaccounted for. On the day of operations commencing, we paused to come in and advise you that we had located 1 person. Over the course of the weekend search, we located a second deceased person, and we're very fortunate that the 3rd outstanding member is safe. That's Mr. Singh, who's at the hospital. At the time of the fire, he was away for work and had to return in transit, and there was a delay in verifying his whereabouts. So we're very fortunate that it was not 3 fatalities.
So his first name is Gujraj Singh?
That's correct, yes.
Can you spell that?
Sorry, I can't. I'll confirm with that after.
With the condition of the folks that are currently in hospital or recovering, what can you say about them in terms of their state? Because I know at one point one person was in life-threatening and their condition had maybe even got worse again. So
Yeah.
how is that shaping up?
Well, as is the case with fire injuries, sometimes people stabilize really quickly and that condition will change. The last update that I have from the 4 people at hospital, while still some of them are still critical, they are stable for the most part. And the young boy, I'm pleased to announce, with his dad, is doing quite well, and he's being treated very well at Sick Kids.
How old is the young boy?
He's 5.
He's 5-year-old. And the rest are adults.
Yes. Thank you all very much.
All right, we're listening to the Ontario Fire Marshal along with Peel Police giving us an update on that fire that happened in Brampton at that home last week. They said that there's no criminality in this, and they say that in total 4 people died, 3 adults and 1 toddler. CTV's Janice Golding is there. She listened, Janice, to this news conference, and we've got...
Hi, Nathan. I've just lost your audio, but I'm going to start talking now because I'm assuming that you've thrown to me. Essentially, police say they were originally looking for 5 people. It turns out that it was 4 people who lost their lives in this fire. Now, this took place at 2:15 in the morning Thursday here in the McLaughlin Road area of northwest Brampton. And what we were told at the time is that originally they found 2 people who were deceased, one just inside the home, one just outside the home. But they said at the time that they were still looking for 3 people who were unaccounted for. They eventually did find 1 person, and over the course of the weekend they found yet another person. We are told that the victims are 3 women ranging in age from mid-20s to their 50s, as well as a 2-year-old boy. There was another person who was unaccounted for, but we are told he was away out of town on business, and so they have now located him at the hospital where he is with his young son, who's 5 years old, who was injured. He's also with his pregnant wife, who unfortunately lost her baby when she jumped out of one of the windows. There were 4 people, in fact, taken to hospital. They are now all in hospital in stable condition, although they were taken to hospital in critical condition. Now, we've also heard an update from the Ontario Fire Marshal, and the Fire Marshal has said that they have located smoke detectors from the home. They are now going to go through the process of determining whether or not they were actually working. They said they've also removed other debris from the home that they will analyze. The police say this will take several months before the investigation continues. Now, the Fire Marshal's office did say that there had been a number of fires in the province, 92 fires in all, with 106 fatalities, and they urged people once again to make sure that they have working smoke detectors in their homes, saying that it is the best way to ensure that you are safe, and also to have a fire escape plan ready to go, because you have essentially 60 seconds to get out of the house once a fire is signaled by your smoke detectors. At this point also, Peel Regional Police say there is nothing to indicate that there was any criminality involved at this place at this point. So this is not looking like this was a fire that was started deliberately. So they are going to try to determine where exactly it started. That's it from us here in Brampton. Now back to you, Michelle and Nathan.
Thank Thank you, Janice. Appreciate the update. Peel police say a 25-year-old man accused of shooting and killing his father in Brampton on Saturday is now in custody. Nicholas Jaglal faces charges of second-degree murder and attempted murder. He is accused of shooting his father inside a home on Clearjoy Street around 3:15 p.m. Saturday. His father, a man in his 50s, was pronounced dead at the scene.
Meanwhile, 24-year-old Nicholas Singh, one of Canada's most wanted fugitives, has been arrested. He was arrested by Toronto police Friday after being on the run since May 31st, 2025. Police also seized a gun and extended magazine and ammo. Singh was number 15 on the BOLO program's top 25 most wanted list that was revealed in October. He was serving a sentence of just under 5.5 years for robbery and firearms-related offenses when he was on the run.
2 men have been arrested after they left the scene of a rollover in the Distillery District early this morning. It happened around 3 a.m. in the area of Cherry and Front Streets. Police say the vehicle was abandoned on streetcar tracks, forcing the TTC to suspend service in the area. The 2 men were found with help from the police service's K-9 unit. 1 man was taken to hospital with minor injuries. And White's Road was closed from Pickering, Concession Road 3 to Sunbird Trail this morning following a rollover. The CTV News chopper was over that scene where 1 vehicle had flipped onto its roof. Durham police have not provided details about this crash, only saying that White's Road has since reopened in the area.
And a man's in hospital with serious injuries following a stabbing near Moss Park last night. Police were called to the Dundas and Jarvis area shortly before 10 p.m. They found a man in his 20s with injuries. He was taken to hospital. Police say a suspect was spotted leaving the scene on foot, heading east on Dundas. Investigators have not provided any details about the suspect, and they're asking anyone with information to come forward.
Toronto police are asking for help identifying a group of suspects in a pair of break-and-enters in North York. Investigators say 3 people in a minivan arrived at a commercial address in the area of Bermondsey Road and Eglinton Avenue on 2 separate occasions last week. Police say they entered the property and stole items before taking off. Their vehicle is described as a dark blue or black van and may be an older model Dodge Caravan. It's missing its front license plate and has damage on the driver's side. Police are asking anyone who might have tips to come forward.
Still to come, Canada and India have renewed what's being described as a comprehensive economic partnership. We'll have more on the changing relationship a little later in the newscast.
MPPs have passed Bill 60, the Ford government's controversial housing legislation. A major demonstration against the bill was held over the weekend with people marching to Queen's Park to demand the government withdraw the legislation. Under the bill, tenants will be required to give advance notice of any issues they plan to raise at a hearing. The government is also removing mandatory compensation for tenants when landlords take back their units for personal use. Last week, more than 100 organizations signed an open letter warning the Ford government Bill 60 would worsen homelessness in Ontario by removing core tenant protections.
The province says it will require defendants to pay cash security deposits before being released from custody as part of a bill aimed at tightening bail requirements.
We're coming forward again with bold, innovative, and practical solutions to enhance our public safety. And the reason is obvious. Our government has never stopped in believing that our inherent right to live safely in our own homes and communities is the guiding principle that drives our actions every day to protect Ontario.
In a release issued today, the province says the proposed bill would improve bail compliance and keep repeat offenders behind bars. Toronto's police chief spoke out in support of the bill.
These additional measures announced today to improve bail compliance and keep repeat violent offenders in custody will make our communities safer. These initiatives are essential to protect the public and prevent crime, restore public trust in the justice system, and support police officers who see firsthand the harm caused to victims by violent criminals.
The legislation is expected to be tabled tomorrow.
Time now for a look outside on this Monday afternoon as we pause to take stock of our weather forecast. A full new week ahead of us, and we have beautiful sunshine out there today and some really comfortable temperatures for this time of year. There's a lot to like to start the week, Lindsay.
Yeah, it may have been a little bit cool for some very early this morning, Michelle, but the afternoon will be mild, and really the next couple of days are going to be mild too. Right now we are at 7 degrees at Pearson Airport, on our way to our forecast daytime high of 9. Winds, not a big part of the weather story once again today. They are coming out of the southwest, though, so that could be assisting with our milder air that we're experiencing. Lots to like, a nice mix of sun and cloud at this hour, but we're tracking a little bit of active weather to the north, and there's a low pressure system to the south that's going to give us a bit of a soaking into the day tomorrow, and really for the next couple of days beyond that. But as mentioned, above seasonal today, 5 is the average high this time of year, and we're expected to be around 9 tomorrow. Very similar temperatures, but different weather conditions. We'll take you through the forecast for the week ahead coming up. For now, Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Canada and India have renewed what's called a comprehensive economic partnership. It marks a significant change in what has recently been a contentious relationship between the two countries. Prime Minister Mark Carney offered his thoughts last night at the G20 summit in South Africa.
Canada has quite an actual strong commercial relationship with India. We are one of the largest, for example, foreign investors in India. Canada is. And there have been tight ties. What we're looking to do is to put that on a sound footing through a potential trade agreement between the two countries, which give protections to our businesses, protections to Indian businesses, clear set of rules, dispute mechanisms, and others, and build on those opportunities.
CTV's Colton Prale has been following this story. He joins us live now from Ottawa. Colton, let's first talk about the significance of this reset in trade relations between Canada and India, especially in light of the whole tariff situation.
Absolutely. So what this is formally beginning trade talks towards that economic partnership. So nothing is signed yet, but it will eventually outline the rules, assuming it does get signed. And this is significant for two reasons. One, when you look at the global economies, the largest economies out there, India is 4th in the world right now, projected to be 3rd by 2028. If Canada wants to diversify away from the U.S. in light of tariffs, you absolutely need to be doing that in the biggest economies, and India is one of those. And so this is integral to that. But the second portion of this, why it's important, is Mark Carney and his government have pledged to double non-U.S. exports by 2030, and you simply cannot do that if you're not involved in those big economies. And so part of what we saw as a result of this bilateral agreement wasn't just an agreement to formally start those trade talks again, it was an aspiration to hit $70 billion worth of trade by 2030, to double the effective trade right now, because there is plenty of opportunity for growth when it comes to economic relations with India. We only sent them about $5 billion worth of exports last year. They are our 10th largest trading partner, behind countries like South Korea, Italy, France, the UK, Germany. And again, this is a much larger economy. It is the most populous nation in the world, and most of the trade is being done in services, while we know that there is a desire for Canadian natural resources, things like oil and gas, but also to work together in areas like artificial intelligence. So there really is opportunity for growth here, and you saw that highlighted not just in this bilateral meeting, not just in the restart of trade talks, but also in a signed trilateral agreement with Australia, India, and Canada to focus on tech and innovation as well.
Colton, no doubt people watching and listening are thinking, well, what happens to the allegations alleging Indian agents assassinated a Canadian Sikh activist in Canada? How does that fit in here?
That's the challenge for government. That's where this becomes tricky, because it's not just about the economy, it's also about public safety. We know that through the Foreign Interference Inquiry, India is one of the biggest threat actors when it comes to transnational repression on Canadian soil and when it comes to foreign interference in Canadian politics. We also know that that RCMP investigation is still ongoing about the allegations of Indian government agents taking part or being involved in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a Sikh Canadian on Canadian soil. The Prime Minister was asked about this. How do you balance those two priorities, and is India a reliable trading partner? He said you gauge that balance based on the depth of the economic ties, and that India is reliable. Have a listen.
You can be both a reliable trading partner, and there will be some sources of friction. What I will say with respect to India is that we don't have a comprehensive economic partnership agreement with India, one of the world's largest and fastest growing economies. The ability to have more effective trade with them, to scale that trade with them, would be greatly helped by that.
Now, I also spoke with the public safety minister over the weekend about this and asked him directly how you balance those two priorities. He was quick to point out that Canada is also bringing forward a foreign agent registry. This is something that most other G7 nations have done. We've been a little bit of a laggard on. There's been a lot of pressure on government to do this. They are still, in his words, several weeks out from naming a commissioner. But once that is done, once that registry is in place, it will give Canadians a better idea of the depth of foreign involvement in Canadian politics as well.
CTV's Colton Prell live for us in Ottawa. Thank you.
Anytime.
Ottawa and Alberta are believed to be days away from announcing a memorandum of understanding on a pipeline which would carry Alberta oil to the BC coast.
I would say that we have been negotiating with the feds for a while. I've been very frank about that. And we've been going back and forth almost daily for probably the better part of the last 2 weeks. And I really hope that we will have an agreement ready and available to be released soon.
The proposed pipeline has sparked tension between Alberta and British Columbia. BC Premier David Eby says the new pipeline should not go ahead before more crude oil is pumped through the existing Trans Mountain pipeline. Canada's top military strategists have floated the idea of creating a volunteer force to help defend the country from both man-made and natural disasters.
CTV's Judy Trinh has more on what the possible plan would entail.
Facing rising threats from climate change and competing states testing Canada's sovereignty, military strategists want the federal government to create a volunteer defense corps made up of 300,000 citizens.
When we're thinking about the number of events and domestic operations we've had in terms of fighting forest fires and so on, so this is all part of our transformation effort, and all Canadians will be, of course, voluntarily invited to serve.
The document, drafted by the Strategic Joint Staff, says the force would have less restrictive age limits and lower physical standards and fitness requirements. The plan hasn't been approved by the government, but the defense minister supports the idea.
The notion of having a civil force or a civil group of Canadians who are ready, willing, and able to serve their country is something that has been talked about for years in Canada. It's something that our allies are doing and pursuing very, very actively.
In countries like Sweden and Finland, hundreds of thousands of citizens are trained to operate bomb shelters and respond to natural disasters. Under Canada's plan, the volunteers would get 5 days of training each year to learn how to shoot a gun, drive a truck, and operate a drone. They would not be paid.
It's no surprise that the Department of National Defence and Canadian Armed Forces would look to many sources to recruit people from, including people who are already dedicated to public service. They may be federal, they may be provincial, they may be municipal, they may be in business, they may be in the banking sector, they may be on Bay Street.
But the number of volunteer recruits may be too ambitious when the Canadian military is still dealing with a shortage of 15,000 soldiers. McGuinty says he's confident the $82 billion the federal government earmarked for defense in this year's budget will lead to more interest in the military and more recruits. Judy Trinh, CTV News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, a month after Carney visited Asia, Canada's industry minister is also traveling there. Melanie Joly will be in South Korea and Japan through Friday. She'll spend 5 days meeting with major companies as Ottawa seeks to increase non-U.S. exports. Joly is slated to also speak with one of 2 bidders looking to build up to 12 new submarines for Canada. She'll also sit down with her government counterparts to discuss automotive and battery manufacturing, shipbuilding, and mining, among other topics.
The United States and Ukraine say they have drafted what is being called a refined peace framework after Ukraine's allies criticized the plan originally proposed by the U.S. as being too sympathetic to Russia. And as discussions continue, Russia has launched attacks on Ukraine, including a drone strike on Ukraine's second-largest city, Kharkiv. Ukrainian officials say at least 4 people were killed and several others were injured.
Well, it is a mainly sunny start to our work and school week today, but that's not how the rest of the week is expected to play out. Here's a look. We've got a low pressure system that's going to swing through, mainly bringing us rain starting tomorrow afternoon, continuing into Wednesday. But look at what we're dealing with by Thursday, significantly cooler air and, yeah, some scattered flurries. The cool down, it's most noticeable into the day on Thursday, but you're also really going to notice it over the weekend. So we'll take a look at your 7-day forecast, which brings us right through next Saturday and Sunday. That's after this break here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, this is the last week of November. Can you believe it? We welcome December, the final month of the year, next week. And I love what we're getting today. The sunshine, the warmth. I mean, it's usually a little bit cooler, a little bit darker this time of year.
Very true. Yeah, the month is kind of flying by, but also what I like is we're getting sunshine, and we know the sun sets early, so enjoy it if you can.
Yeah, November and December are traditionally pretty cloudy months, so whenever we can get sunny days like this, we have to enjoy it. Happy to share that the warmth, or at least the mild temperature that we're experiencing today, it's going to be very similar tomorrow, maybe even warmer on Wednesday. But yeah, we do have some active weather to talk about, so let's get to it. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Lots of sunshine this morning. It was a beautiful start to the day and to the week, this final week of November. Gorgeous sunrise captured by our CTV News chopper. Of course, yes, those days are getting shorter and shorter. Winter solstice, my goodness, not the summer solstice. The winter solstice this year will be on December 21st. So mark your calendar if that's important to you. We got a little ways to go until we reach the darkest day of the year. Enough about that for now. We're going to enjoy the sunshine and a current temperature of 7 degrees at Pearson Airport. 9 is our forecast daytime high. 5 is the average this time of year. So I think many will take this. It's nice and comfortable if you want to venture outside today, maybe do some errands, go for a walk. Enjoy the mostly sunny skies too, because weather conditions are going to change as we progress through the next few days here. A look at our almanac. Again, seasonal norm is about 5 degrees. Yesterday we made it to 9.6, so this is a little bit of a repeat. We had some pretty changeable weather conditions yesterday. It was windy. We had on and off showers. Fortunately, those attending the Santa Claus parade didn't mind too much. This evening, we expect to be dry still. Temperature near 6 degrees by about 9 p.m. Just partly cloudy skies, but we will see an increase in cloud cover through the overnight hours. Remaining mild, though, 4 and above seasonal and above freezing. 4 is the forecast low. Tomorrow, repeat as far as the temperature is concerned, but yes, we get into some showers as early as the afternoon. So here's what it looks like right now on the satellite and radar. It's a low pressure system stateside that's really going to give us the soaking. And when I say soaking, it's not a lot of rain. We're maybe looking at about 5 millimeters with this one. Here's the timing. So midday tomorrow, so perhaps early afternoon, we're going to get into some wet weather around the GTA. It'll be on and off as we progress through the day on Wednesday. There's about midday, and then into the day on Thursday, even before that, overnight into Thursday morning, we see a changeover to some flurries. You can see just how widespread they are expected to be. And we get even cooler as we make our way into the weekend. So here's the 7-day forecast. First, though, a high of 11 on Wednesday, dramatically changing to about 3 for Thursday and Friday, 0 for the high on Saturday. That's the weather for now. Nathan, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Toronto Raptors will be looking for an 8th straight win when they take on the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight.
Bonzi to Ingram, the 3-ball.
The team's coming off a 119-109 win over the Brooklyn Nets last night. Tip-off for tonight's game is against the Cavaliers is set for just after 7 at Scotiabank Arena. The Raptors are in second place in the NBA's Eastern Conference, with the Cavaliers right behind them in third. 20 Canadians are set to take the field when the Women's Professional Baseball League begins its inaugural season next year.
CTV's Garrett Barry has more on those set to make history on and off the field.
With the 14th overall pick in the Women's Pro Baseball League draft,
3 Canadian pitchers were among the league's top picks when the 4 Women's Pro Baseball League teams claimed their first ever players in the league's first ever draft.
Pretty cool that I can say my daughter's a professional baseball player.
Among them, St. John's-born Jada Lee. She was the first woman to pitch in the Canada Summer Games, and now the youngest pitcher picked in the first round of this WPBL draft. A full circle moment for her mom, Amanda, who remembers Jada being brave enough to say she wanted to play professional baseball when she was just 13.
Any girl who wants to play in the major league, stand up. Now I'll get emotional. And she jumped up, and of course you're like, oh, that's so cute. Like, you know, oh, it's nice to dream that, but you don't ever think it's gonna happen, and now it's happened.
This new league will start play next August at a ballpark in Springfield, Illinois. It was co-founded by Keith Stein, CEO of the Toronto Maple Leafs of the Inter-County Baseball League.
Ali Schroeder.
The Canadian influence doesn't stop there. 20 Canadian women in total, many of them current or former national team players, are among this league's initial draft class.
You'd have to think that instead of, you know, maybe 150 or 200 really skilled women across Canada, that pool now will be 2,000 in 30 years or 40 years, right?
The salaries in the league are modest, at least in the first year, just $6,000 per player on average. But for Lee's father, it's a step towards growing the women's game, which he says is in dire need of places to play and goals to reach for. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
Still to come, AI is everywhere, and new research finds it's making people think they're smarter than they really are. We'll have those details when we return.
New research shows AI is helping people solve problems better, but it's also making people overconfident about their abilities.
For more, we're joined by CTV Science and Technology Specialist Dan Riskin. Dan, okay, what's happening here?
Yeah, as the most overconfident person you know, I will bring you the science. This is a really fun story about how AI is changing us. You know, we're using AI, and we're thinking about how AI is this great thing, but as we use it, we become slightly different. So do we become smarter? Do we become dumber? That's not clear yet, but what is clear is we're becoming a little bit too confident. When they gave people a standardized test that's kind of like the LSAT, this super hard test that people usually average about 50% on, and they let them use ChatGPT to help them do it, they improved remarkably. If you have ChatGPT helping you on this test, you do about 37% better. But if you let somebody use ChatGPT and you don't tell them how they scored, and then you say, how well do you think you did? Their estimate is double what they actually accomplished. And so what we're seeing is that when people are using these tools to help them get stuff done, they feel like they're just crushing it when they're actually doing a pretty good job. And this is the big warning, is if you're using these tools to help you write or to help you come up with ideas or to help you come up with a business plan or whatever it is you're doing, just know you might not be firing on quite as many cylinders as you think you are.
So it's not perfect.
It's not perfect, but you are doing better. So it's worth doing, but just don't get overconfident.
All right, good to know. So scientists scan the brains of people to see what happens when a person lies to their friend. Okay, what did the study find?
Well, this is very interesting. So it was a study set up where there were sort of two buttons you could push. And so if I'm the person advising, I know that the red button is going to pay me more than it pays Michelle. But if it's the blue button, Michelle gets more money. So I say to Michelle, you should push the red button. It's better for you, even though the truth is that it actually pays out better for me. I'm telling her a lie. And the question is, will she believe what I have to say? And what they found in the study is if you pair people up who are friends, they are more likely to fall for it than if you pair up people who aren't friends. But the really interesting piece is that those people were wearing these brainwave measuring hats. And when friends are together, their brains get in sync. And the more in sync you are with your friend, the more likely you are to believe what they tell you. And so it's not really a story about friends betraying each other, because that was just sort of set up by the experiment. But it's about the fact that when you have a friend and you get your brain in sync with them, you have this trust and you're vulnerable in a way that you're not vulnerable for other people. And the fact that they can see that in the brain waves is what makes this really cool.
All right, makes sense.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so finally, this the study is some good news for people who speak multiple languages. Ooh la la, c'est très intéressant.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah, tell us why and multilingualism helps affect, is it brain aging?
It's brain aging. So basically, if you speak multiple languages, your brain doesn't get old as fast as the brain of somebody who only speaks one language. So I read this study and I was like, you know, I should try to learn a third language because I speak French and I speak English. And I've got, my wife is doing Portuguese and Duolingo right now. And I'm like, wow, that looks kind of fun. Maybe I should sign up for something like that. Turns out it would be a good idea because not only did this study, it was 87,000 adult Europeans. They asked them, how many languages do you speak? And then they had them do a bunch of cognitive tests and then looked at their age. If you only speak one language, your brain is at about the right age. If you speak two languages, your brain is younger than it should be. And so you're actually doing better. And then if you speak more languages, it's additive. So the more languages you speak, the more of an improvement you get. And so learning another language just has these benefits beyond being able to order a cappuccino when you're in a different country.
I am so happy you told us. My kids are in French immersion, and they complain all the time. I cannot wait to pull this science out and say, listen, you'll want this when you're older.
In my experience, that doesn't work on kids. They still hate you for it. But listen, you are doing the right thing. You're doing great parenting, and they will eventually see the light.
Yeah, better in the long run, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, CTV Science and Tech Specialist Dan Riskin, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
To other news, a Winnipeg man says he was not being treated properly at a local hospital, so he left and went to a different one, all while having a heart attack.
Now, doctors are warning that similar situations are happening more often. CTV's Alex Carpa has this story.
Yeah, this is what my heart looked like.
Heymana Romana was experiencing terrible chest pain on July 10th, 2022.
I can't describe it. You're sweating. Your hands, you can feel yourself drifting off because of the pain so severe.
He went to Winnipeg's Health Sciences Centre where he was triaged and told to wait in the emergency room. But after 2 hours, his pain kept getting worse, and he says no one came to help him.
You're sitting there thinking, I'm going to die.
He realized he couldn't wait any longer and left to get help elsewhere. Within 15 minutes of arriving at another hospital, doctors told him he was having a STEMI heart attack, a blockage in a coronary artery, and needed immediate treatment.
The surgeons and the doctors down at St. Boniface Hospital saved my life.
Shared Health, which runs Manitoba's largest hospital, says patients get scored based on their symptoms when they arrive in the ER. This score determines how often they should be reassessed. Romana says he required checks every 15 minutes, but claims that did not happen.
This is becoming more and more of an issue.
In an ideal situation, cardiologists advise a patient with a STEMI should have their artery opened up within 90 minutes.
People can misdiagnose these, people can make mistakes, these sorts of things happen, but a STEMI is really one of the, small number of situations where that person should be taken to the angiography theater immediately.
Romana has had a tough couple of years. He says his heart now only pumps between 35 to 40%, which has put him in heart failure.
Once upon a time, I could, ride my bike 20K, run 5K. I can't do anything that.
He has since filed several complaints against the hospital and hopes his story will shed light on ongoing issues in the ER. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The federal government is spending more than $35 million to train dental students across the country.
Today, we also announced that 30 projects across Canada have been approved under the Oral Health Access Fund. These projects will improve training for dental students and strengthen efforts to improve access to care.
Ottawa says the funding will go toward oral health programs, mainly at universities and colleges.
So to come, more Canadians are getting artificial intelligence to help them with their holiday shopping this year. We'll have those details when we come back.
Help CTV and the Salvation Army build a mountain of toys. There are many ways to donate this year. Visit ctvtoronto.ca to find out how. Happy holidays from CTV and the Salvation Army.
Black Friday is quickly approaching, but many stores are already offering major deals.
CTV's Jack Richardson has more on the early start to the holiday shopping season.
Christmas is about a month away, and some shoppers are getting the ball rolling.
We just want to check out for some deals before Christmas.
I've done a bit, not very much.
Same here, not much at all.
Just looking now, definitely waiting till Black Friday for all the sales.
Black Friday is traditionally held on the Friday of American Thanksgiving, when retail companies offer massive discounts. But lately, stores have started offering these sales well in advance.
I feel like companies don't even do Black Friday just on the Friday anymore. I've been getting emails for the last 2 weeks about things going on sale.
companies are adapting to consumer habits. According to a survey conducted by the Retail Council of Canada, more shoppers are relying on Black Friday deals for their holiday shopping than usual.
Almost half the people answering the poll said that they are waiting for the Black Friday to start the holiday shopping. So this is more important than ever, and it's an increasing tendency that we've seen over the years.
84% also said Black Friday was the most important time of year to shop. The Retail Council cites economic uncertainty as one reason why, which puts pressure on retailers to meet those expectations by extending the sale period.
They are looking more and more for discount and sales to start with. So that's why maybe the Black Friday is so important now.
In some cases, shoppers are even making an annual trip to North America to take advantage of Black Friday sales for their Christmas shopping.
Every year we are at Canada at this time.
This couple is from Germany.
We love roots.
Yeah,
so we
roots
don't have this in Germany, and they have wonderful prices at this time of the year because of Black Friday.
Others are just happy to see lower prices.
It works out for me, for my broke student lifestyle.
Jack Richardson, CTV News.
And as Canadians look to cross purchases off their list, they are turning, more of them, in fact, are turning to artificial intelligence for help. A survey from Shopify found 64% of people polled indicated they will use AI for at least one shopping task this holiday season. For Gen Z shoppers, which covers people between the ages of 18 and 24, that number rose to 84%.
Reggae pioneer Jimmy Cliff has died at the age of 81. Cliff may be best known for his role in the 1972 film The Harder They Come. Its soundtrack, which included several songs by Cliff, helped introduce reggae to a global audience. According to Cliff's family, he died following a bout of pneumonia after suffering a seizure.
Coming up on CTV News at noon, a treasure trove of UFO-related items has ended up in a Vancouver warehouse. We'll have more on the goods set to be auctioned when we return.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
New polls indicate a majority of Canadians believe there is other intelligent life in the universe.
And now someone could get their hands on decades worth of research into UFOs, which is currently sitting in a Vancouver warehouse. CTV's Andrew Johnson has the story.
This is the UFO haven, I guess.
Jeff Schwartz has seen a lot in his 40 years in the liquidation business, but nothing quite as unusual as this.
I get all kinds of stuff, anything and everything that you could possibly think of. Getting something like this, I would say it's probably in the top one, if not the top one.
The paranormal collection comes from California and a guy by the name of Chris Wyatt, who produced multiple documentaries on UFOs and alien encounters.
Became Hollywood's de facto UFO producer in the mid to late 90s.
He spent years gathering evidence, declassified government documents, and recording testimonials.
Also included in the auction, this, and it's not your normal family photo album. Inside, photographs captured over decades all over the world, alleged UFO sightings long before the era of Photoshop.
You can see fighter jets chasing some of these UFOs.
The centerpiece comes from Roswell Air Force Base in New Mexico, where the alleged remains of a UFO and its alien crew were taken in 1947 after a crash. It's a yearbook detailing who worked at the base at the time. Wyatt says all copies were confiscated, but a former officer approached him with one he'd saved.
This gentleman was in an oxygen tank. He said, "I don't have long to live. This is my prized possession, and I think you're the guy to own it."
Wyatt has now left his film career behind and hopes the collection is bought next month by a production company interested in investigating further. The Vancouver sellers say it sparked a lot of discussion on close encounters in the city that provided the setting for the X-Files.
I've talked to a few people, and everybody seems to kind of have a story.
Maybe the truth is right here. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
the scary music.
I know. What do you do with that thing?
Well, what do the stars say about the weather?
Well, we're talking about the fact that it's going to be a mostly starry night for tonight, but we are going to see a bit of an increase in cloud cover before the rain begins. Here's your overnight forecast. 4 degrees, though, so it's mild, above freezing, above seasonal. -2 is the average low temperature this time of year. And then tomorrow, repeat as far as the temperature is concerned at 9 degrees, but we are expecting some showers. Wednesday as well. And then Thursday, cool enough for some flurries. Let's take a detailed look at the 7-day forecast here. So we're pretty unsettled through the middle of the week. And while it is mild during the day on Wednesday at 11 degrees, look at that overnight low back below freezing. That could lead to a little bit of mixed precip into Thursday and Thursday morning. Thursday itself, widespread flurries, and then even cooler air moves in for Friday night and into the weekend. Saturday, our daytime high might not make it past the freezing mark. Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.